on meditations.
And there's a big quarrel about it. Is the world real or false? Is it a reality in itself or is it an appearance? Really speaking, that question is misguided. Sri Ramakrishna was asked once that is the world false? Like Advaita Vedanta would have it would say. Sri Ramakrishna said, why should the world be false? That is a step in Vedantic inquiry. In Bengali, he said, Bicharer Katha, in the step in Vedantic inquiry. Now, what is, it's a very nuanced reply. He did not say the world is not false, it's real. He didn't say that. He didn't say, of course, the world is false. He said, no, when you say the world is false, he knows what's in the mind of the person who's asking. The person is asking from an Advaitic perspective, non-dual perspective. See, that's a step in non-dual inquiry. Vicharer Katha in Bengali, he said. But that's not remarkable also. Sri Ramakrishna's observation, that's a Vicharer Katha, it's not remarkable because Advaita itself, Advaitic texts like the Panchadashi, a classic of post-Shankara Advaita, they also say the world is false, and I'll tell you exactly what they say. Vidyaranya Swami, the author of the text Panchadashi, he says, what is the status of the world? Is it real or is it false? And who is saying this? A follower of Adi Shankaracharya, committed non-dualist, the author of the non-dual classic Panchadashi. He says that this world, he says, to the ordinary man in the street, he says, Vastavi, it's absolutely real. It can't be ignored. It's real. Vastavi means Vastu, real. To the philosopher, to the inquirer, he says it is anirvachaniya. It cannot be classified as real ultimately or as unreal. That is the definition of falsity. Something that appears to us, like the rope, like the snake in the rope. It appears to us, like the water in the mirage. It appears to us, but it's not real in itself. There's no real water in the mirage. There's no real snake when it's actually a rope. So something that appears but does not exist. You can't deny that it appeared to you. For a moment you thought it was something else. So that's called falsity. It's like a lie. Somebody tells a lie. It's not the truth. But it's not nothing either. He didn't keep quiet. See, there are three things. Telling the truth and keeping quiet and telling a lie. So when somebody tells a lie, the person did say something. It's not nothing, but it's not the truth. Similarly, falsity is when we experience the reality as something other than what it is. So we experience the rope as a snake. You're not experiencing a rope as a rope. You're experiencing the desert, not as a desert, but as an oasis full of water. That's a mirage. So Panchadashi, the author of Panchadashi, Vidyaranya Swami says, when you inquire with logic, when you reason, you will come to this conclusion that the world is an appearance. It's not nothing, but it's not the ultimate truth. You can't say it's nothing because it appears to you. You experience it all the time. But you can't say it's the ultimate truth, which is pure consciousness, existence, whatever you call it. And then he goes on to say, this author of Panchadashi, to the enlightened one. So three views, the worldly man's view, the philosopher's view, and the enlightened one's view. To the enlightened one, he says, there is no world, there's Brahman alone. There's only one non-dual reality. Just like that Swami told me. Why should it be two? It's only one. Because I had asked that Swami, is it that you see, the enlightened one sees absolute reality, existence, consciousness, bliss, and this world like a shadow sort of hanging around, And he said, no, it's not like that. It's one. And the one is Brahman, or that absolute reality. So see, three answers to the question, is the world real? To the man on the street, yes, the world is real. Vastavi, it's true. To the person in a dream, whatever he is experiencing in the dream doesn't know it's a dream. It's real. It's practically, it's what is being experienced. But when you inquire into it, it's neither real nor non-existing. It's what is called false. And for the fully enlightened one, it's Brahman. Brahman alone exists. There's no separate reality called the world. And that's what exactly Sri Ramakrishna said. When Sri Ramakrishna was asked, is this world false? He said, why should it be false? That falsity of the world is a stage in inquiry. That philosophical inquiry, when you do vichara, you come to this conclusion. The world cannot be determined as absolutely real or as completely unreal. So what is being said here is, Purnat Purnam Udachyate. If you literally translate, it means from the full, this fullness has come. But if you look a little deeper, that is being called, the cause is being called Purnam, and the effect is also being called Purnam, effectively denying that there is any cause and effect. That really nothing has happened. It seems to have happened that way, that the world seems to have appeared before you. Something has been produced, but actually it is the same reality. Purnam. In which case, what is being said here? What's being said here is, whatever we are experiencing, wherever we are, worldly, spiritual, in whatever sense, whichever religion we belong to, whatever we are experiencing, the dramatic claim is you are experiencing nothing but God. Swami Vivekananda said, never approach anything except as God. Because that's the fact. The fact is that there's only one non-dual reality. If Advaita Vedanta is true, in that case, whatever is real must be that one reality, because it's non-dual, no second reality. If there are multiple realities, maybe, right, I'm experiencing a reality called a world, and there is some other reality called God, heaven, something else. But if it is non-dual, Advaita, then whatever we are experiencing must be that non-dual reality. In other words, whatever we are experiencing in the language of religion must be God. It's a very, why it is profound, it's a very capacious idea of the ultimate reality. What do I mean by that is, what this Purnamada Purnamidam is saying is, if it is formless and it cannot be with form, it's an incomplete God. If it is with form and you deny that it can never be formless, it's an incomplete God. If you say it is with form, but it only has to be, God has to be a male form, it's an incomplete God. Always Shiva goes with Shakti. And Shakti, you cannot say it is only Shakti. There's always Shiva in the background. If it's only female, then it's an incomplete God. If it's only to be worshipped in a form which is with a human form, it's an incomplete God. That's why in Sanatana Dharma, in Hinduism, you have God being worshipped as a fish, the Matsya Avatara, as the tortoise, the Kurma Avatara, as the man lion, in the human form, in the male form, in the female form, in the male and female form together, Ardhanarishwara, and with no form, formless. But the idea always is, if you say it is only formless, then it's an incomplete God.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. That is really interesting. So what do you think about that, Kelly? Do you like that? Because I just love hearing this, and I get excited when I'm watching, Swami speak and talk. It's just, you feel so good whenever you hear him talk. You feel so enlightened. You feel so upbeat. You feel so, ready to just take on the world and learn more. You have a hunger for knowledge when you hear this man speak.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. It's really deep stuff. Sometimes I'm more in it than others. Sometimes I really, really have to concentrate to follow along. And I like how we're taking a little bit of notes this time, because for me, listening auditory is my least best way of learning. And it really helps me to read or do. So having things written and reading it, his words, helps me comprehend it more.
Yeah, so if you see me typing or on my phone, it's because we're taking notes. Because we want to actually learn this stuff. And as you're watching it as well, if you truly want to learn, some of you probably already know this, but this particular philosophy is new to us. A lot of it is the same whenever you're, reach a certain level of high vibration enlightenment. It's all the same knowledge, but this specific information is new to us. So we like to take notes and take it seriously.
Yeah. And I mean, most people are familiar with the yin and yang. So him talking about male, female, that is really helpful. But it is it's just interesting because we tend, at least here in the West, we tend to think of God as a male typically. And we have to really open our mind about that, because that would be totally incomplete if God was just male. God has to be male and female, and we really have to wrap our heads around that God is everything. And that's just a good way to think of it, as male and female, because that's the yin yang that we can all understand, in a dual way of energy, a way of looking at things. But that just goes to show that we really have to open up our comprehension of all that is, and what God is, and what the universe is.
Yes. And as Kelly and I always say, even whenever I'm doing meditations, you hear me say, see yourself as everything, see God in everything. So this is something that I've been saying for a long time. So it's just very awesome to hear Swami say it as well, because what he's basically saying at the core is that everything is God. So, and I love when he said, inquire with logic. If you inquire with logic, you'd see that the world is false. But whenever you're in a dream, the dream is real. Whenever you're awake, it's real. But whenever you sleep, the dream is real. So which one is truly real? As he said, it's both real and fake. So it's this and that, as we said earlier. It's just so awesome to hear it explained in such a simplistic, awesome, finite way, where it's just, he's able to break it down so that anybody could understand this stuff. And I love hearing it. I love filling my brain up with this positive information. And I love how he said, Purnam is from the fullness, and it's also the cause and effect. So it's also both, like I said, this and that. And also, a lot of people, the reason why I like to inquire with logic is because a lot of people like to inquire with emotions. A lot of people like to inquire with their own ego, with their hubris. They're using everything but logic to be to inquire and ask questions, because the day-to-day life gets in the way. Their own mind gets in the way, their ego, their emotions. They can't stand just inquiring a situation with pure logic and reasoning. And that's how I like to approach situations. So whenever I see someone else approaching a situation with emotions and, being unreasonable, literally not approaching with reason, being unreasonable, then to me it's frustrating sometimes. But I understand that everyone is not the same. But as Swami's saying, it is truly important to get to that point where you can start inquiring with logic. And at that point, I like to break that down as just being honest with yourself. Whenever you're honest with yourself, then you're truly inquiring with the logic and taking away emotions, taking away your own ego, and looking outside of yourself and getting a different perspective of what reality is. And like Kelly said earlier, like he said, if God has form, that's an incomplete God. If God is formless, that's an incomplete God. So that's what people don't realize. Whenever you start thinking this formula, God is both, God has form and is without form. So God has form and God is without form. So if you think about it that way, right now, we're all in form. If you're watching this, you're in form. But also God is without form. So we are God living in this reality. We are all a part of God because God is everything, as Swami said. So we are all a part of God, and God is also beyond us without form. So God has to be everything, not male, not female. God is without gender. God is without form. And it's just such an enlightening and interesting perspective that we're watching this video. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because you have to keep in mind, you can look at something like a rock where you wouldn't even think about it being a gender at all. But you have to remember God is the rock as well.
Yep, definitely.
So you have to open up your mind. And as Hans said, it's really, really important to separate yourself from emotion, which I'm always working on. It can be easier said than done at times. But it's very, very important. And I'm a little bit more familiar with Buddhism. I learned about it in a course in college, and I know that attachment is huge. It's all about what Buddhism is about, and being able to detach from things. And they even teach that, even if, say, your wife passes away, a real Buddhist won't even be upset because that's being attached. and they'll just accept it. And that's what, and I honestly believe that emotion is probably only exists the way it does on Earth as a way for us to express our free will. Of course, emotions exist on other planets, but it's pretty much just all high vibration emotions because they don't have free will like us. So they wouldn't even, there's no reason.
Fear.
There's no reason to have low frequency
like
emotions.
Do, you know? So that's why, you know, there's been times in my life where I did feel immense pain. And I kind of enjoyed it in a sense because I knew it wasn't normal, if that makes sense. I knew that in other realities, I don't know, like maybe from the other lives I've lived, I didn't get to experience that. So it always helped me with art and poetry and making things. And I never thought of it as a bad thing, if that makes sense. I think that everything that happens truly is good. And I am a part of that Buddhist philosophy where I believe that, you know, you don't need to have certain attachments to things.
Because it brings, basically what Buddhism says that any attachment brings about suffering. And it's pretty much true.
That's basically what the Jedi say as well, too. But, you know, it's the same thing. Even yesterday, we saved a baby bird that was in the street. I noticed it. I went and got it. I saved it. And then today we saw that the bird passed away. Kelly was really upset, you know, crying. And, you know, I cared, but I didn't have any attachment to it because I wanted it to survive and thrive. But at the end of the day, I know that it's just a cycle of life. And even though it's gone, it's completely okay. It's in a better spot. You know, that bird could have just existed to, you know, bring us even closer together. You never know what, you know, the purpose is of things because that bird was just there. And I couldn't find the nest. I couldn't find the mother. But I made sure it was in a comfortable and safe spot, took it out the street and did whatever I could. And we contacted some places to see if they could get the bird, but it was late. So there was nothing we could truly do other than that. So you just have to go with the flow of life and reality and know that everything that happens is truly good. Okay, guys, thank you for watching this video. If you want to see the other parts, go ahead and look in the description.
On the screen.
Exactly, on the screen or in the description. We'll put them all. And then at the end, we're going to have the full video so you guys can watch over an hour of footage. So thank you for watching.